Should the Dallas Cowboys consider trading up in the second round? All that and more in this episode of the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on
Cowboys.
Locked on Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. Check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. Landon, how you doing today, sir?
Doing well. I'm excited. It's finally kind of mock draft season, so it's time to start running through these. Obviously, we've all been doing these on our own just to test it out, but it's fun to kind of go through a couple exercises here. I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, so today, if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see our mock draft simulator that we're using via Pro Football Focus. If you're listening, we are going to try to do our best to explain what's going on here. But Landon, you and I have a plan that we're going to try to execute in this mock draft. We've done a million of these, and every single time that we do these, we like a lot of the options at pick 26. But when you get to the Cowboys' second round pick, I believe it's number 58.
Yep.
We don't really like a lot of the guys that are available there.
Yeah, it's been something that we both have noticed, that just the trend of kind of going through these, and no matter kind of what has changed in the ranking of these players, in the kind of with PFF you get the sliders to kind of adjust things and the randomness. It just seems like whenever I get to 58, and I'm sure that you agree, we get to a spot and it's a lot of meh choices.
Exactly. This is exactly how I was going to describe it. Yes.
It's just nothing, that really gets your heart rate going. So the impetus of this kind of idea of this experiment that we're going to go down was that we just weren't super inspired by what we were seeing at 58. So we decided what are some other options that we could take, some other routes that we could take instead of just standing and picking at 58.
All right, so let's go ahead and start the simulator. This should be a lot of fun. So no matter what happens here, we're not going to be trading out of 26. We're going to let the board fall to us. We'll go ahead and start the draft. I will read the names as they come off the board. It's Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, pretty normal names. Christian Gonzalez, Paris Johnson, Jordan Addison, Miles Murphy, Devin Witherspoon, Willie Anderson Falls, Quinn Johnson, Peter Skoronski, Bijan Robinson, Michael Mayer, Osiris Torrance, Cam Smith, Lucas Van Ness, Brian Branch, Kalijah Cansey, Jackson Smith-Njigba, your guy, Broderick Jones, Joey Porter, Keely Ringo, and Trent Simpson to the Giants. So in this mock, we have a couple little upsets. Will Levis falls all the way to number 26. Cowboys aren't going to consider him there. But just off the top, Landon, it's a lot of the names that you recognize and you remember. Dalton Kincaid, Brian Breezy, Nolan Smith, Zay Flowers, Will McDonald. Mozzie Smith is there as well. Our guy, Tommy from Northwestern, Steve Avila. A lot of options here for the Cowboys. Which one stands out to you?
This is a very good draw, to be honest.
Sure.
And really, we're not going to do this, but Will Levis still being on the board means that if you wanted to, you're going to have a ton of trade opportunities.
You would assume, yes.
And even in this mock, it's for those who can't see at home, there's 8 listed trade opportunities for us. So we're not doing that today, but just so you know, there are plenty of chances that the board falls the way it does, and the Cowboys have lots of chances to trade back. The name that stands out to me in this list right now, Dalton Kincaid, simply because we've talked a lot about him, and the tight end seems to be a position that they are going to target in the draft, we think. To me, the name is Nolan Smith. I think, he's the guy that I feel like is a step above the rest of these folks as far as talent. I know that edge rusher is not exactly a spot where the Cowboys are, desperate as it stands right now.
Mm-hmm.
But he is, to me, a very, very talented player, and I think maybe the kind of pick of the litter here, to be honest. But I'm certainly willing to listen to
I would also say Will McDonald, the edge rusher from Iowa State.
Sure.
We haven't talked about him a lot, but we know Dan Quinn likes him quite a bit. I see a lot of defenders on this board that could potentially be interested for the Cowboys. So I'm wondering, Landon, the goal of this mock was, to be honest, is we were going to draft somebody in round 1 and see if we could trade up for Jamar Gibbs, the running back from Alabama.
Yeah.
But maybe we pivot. Maybe we take an offensive player here and let's see what's available at pick 33, 34, 35, because there might still be an impact vendor available there that could really help this team out.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think that just looking at the way the board fell a little bit, you still got a quarterback on the board as well. Which obviously you're not interested in. I would think that if you wanted to play it that way, and since we're we've determined that we're going to try to make an attempt to trade up in the second round, I don't hate that. Let's get the offensive player we want here, and then we've got 3 or 4 different defensive players that we like that could fall potentially to, in the top of the second round that we could target.
So how about Dalton Kincaid?
I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
We can do that.
So Dalton Kincaid, there's a chance that he could potentially fall to the Cowboys at 26 after not doing his workout. I believe yesterday was their pro day.
Yep.
I think if he works out, there's no chance that he's available to you. But assuming Dalton Kincaid does fall to the Cowboys at 26, what kind of an impact could he make right away?
Yeah, I mean, he immediately comes in and becomes a valuable pass target. I mean, he is an exceptional receiver of the football. I mean, that's really his game. He's a receiving tight end. You're not going to get much of a blocker, or at least he's going to need to develop there. But he is going to be a guy who you can put down the field. He's going to catch passes. He's got a large catch radius. He's very good, exceptionally good at catching the football. The only thing you have to worry about is this injury. He's coming off a back injury, which is why he's not able to work out. Supposedly he's going to be sending out workout videos to he's just been cleared to do football activities recently.
He doesn't need surgery for it, which it's still a back injury, which shout out to our friend Eric Stoner. Nobody used to have a bad back.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what makes me nervous.
Line. Yeah, no, for sure. And I think except, we haven't seen Tyron Smith have a back injury since his surgery. So maybe medical science has come a ways. I agree. I think that, we'll see. We're going to know a little bit more about Dalton Kincaid this week, because I think he's going to start doing activities and sending out videos to teams. So,
by the way, I forgot to look. Darnell Washington on board with the Philadelphia. I picked 30. But it's a good thing that we ended up doing what we're doing, because Jamar Gibbs actually comes off the board at pick number 29 of the Saints. Let's talk, Landon, about some potential trade-up options for the Cowboys here in the second round next. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. The Built March Madness bracket is here, and we all know that you have a favorite bar or puff, and now is your time to make it count. Go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. You know that I'm going to be voting for cookie dough. And if you want to support the Cowboys to win, then you're going to be voting for that bar as well. Support your team, support your bar or puff. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you'll be entered into a drawing where 50 Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. Not only that, but one Locked On fan will win a 12-month subscription to Built to have the absolute best Built Bar sent to their house every single month. You've got to try Built Bar. They're absolutely fantastic. Only 130 calories, 17 grams of protein, only 4 grams of sugar, plus they are covered in 100% real chocolate. You absolutely can't beat it. So run to builtmarchmadness.com right now to sign up and vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop in and support your pick. All right, Landon, let's talk about some options here. So a couple of the names that went off the board at the end of the first round: Antonio Johnson, Nolan Smith, Jamar Gibbs, Darnell Washington, Darnell Wright. So we still have Will McDonald is there. We still have Mozzie Smith. We still have Tommy from Northwestern. How long do you want to wait before maybe trying to go up and target one of those guys?
Well, I guess really what we should find out first is what can we get? What can we get to while limiting the amount of picks that we're going to have to give up, right? So what is 58-90 going to get us to? What is 58-129 going to get us to? I think that's where we could kind of figure that out first. And then we can start talking about, landmarks of, okay, once three of these four
Yep.
players have gone, we got to pull the trigger,
I think once you get to pick 38, which is where the Raiders are drafting, I think that's probably the first time that you could start shopping around picks 50 and 90, which would be the Cowboys' second and third round choices.
Okay. So 38 is kind of our mark, our
Yes.
landmark. Okay. Now let's look at the list of players that we've got, and let's come up with a short list of who to watch for to trigger us to trade, right? So who's available? Can you put up the list of availables?
I don't think I can look at the list of available while we're not on the clock.
Okay. So
But I think
basically,
we know, right? It's Will McDonald, it's Tommy from Northwestern, it's Mozzie Smith. I think those are really the 3 or 4 guys that probably make the most sense.
there's probably, yeah, and then there's some other guys down that I feel like are going to be available later. If we absolutely miss, we could go get, Julius Brents or something like that,
Sure.
and just let 58 come to us. So, okay, I guess what we should do is let it run. I mean, we're not going to trade up higher than 38, right?
No.
All right, I'd say that let's let it run to 38 and let's see what we got there.
Okay, let's roll. Keon White, Clark Phillips, Jalen Duncan, Will Levis, Brian Breezy was the other name that comes off the board at 37. Honestly, not all that upset about it. So
the fake pin throw, is that what that
yeah.
is?
So still, again, Mozzie Smith, who we talked about a couple of shows ago as a potential nose tackle option. Will McDonald, if you want a speedy edge rusher. You also have Tommy from Northwestern, the super athletic 282-pound guy. Are you good letting it roll a little bit more, or do you want to come up for one of those guys now without?
Let's let Vegas pick.
Okay.
And then let's talk to. I'm trying to see the
Carolina. It'd be Carolina.
Yeah, I know it's Carolina, but I'm trying to see the needs there.
Everything.
Let's stay in front of the Saints. So
Okay.
let's potentially try to trade with Carolina, I guess.
Okay, one pick. Here we go. Luke Musgrave off the board.
Okay.
So fine. We drafted our tight end Dalton.
We drafted our tight end, so we're good. So let's talk to Carolina and see what we can get for that pick.
So pick 58 and 90 for pick 39 has a 61% chance to be accepted according to the mock draft simulator.
All right, let's try 58 and 129 and see what our chances are without 90.
This trade will not be accepted.
Will not be accepted.
So that's 0.
So basically, we need to do 58 and 90, and then you know what? Do you want to see if they'll send us back 132 or something like that?
Sure, 20% chance. So I think
okay.
If
we got to just do this cleanly, basically. If we want to do this, I think
right. I'm good with it. I mean, you might be able to get pick 145 even,
nope.
But I would be fine with this and going up and getting a guy and not messing around because you only have 2 or 3 guys here that you absolutely love.
Yeah. So I would say now here's the question. Well, let's do the trade and then we'll go from there because we got to decide who we're picking at that point.
Yeah. Here's the top names available. We've got Deontay Banks, a corner, Zay Flowers, Will McDonald. We still have Mozzie Smith. We have BJ Ojulari, Steve Avila, Tommy from Northwestern are pretty much your top guys available. Drew Sanders, if you want a linebacker.
Man, could we trade back a little bit further, maybe?
I mean, you probably could. Atlanta would give you picks. Oh man, they might be able to give you pick. Here you go.
Oh man, they're desperate.
We'll
see if you could trade 75 for 129. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
All right. So this would be the Cowboys giving up their new 2nd round pick and their 4th round pick for Atlanta's pick 44 and 75, and Atlanta saying no.
What do you think? Do you think we just pick here, or do we trade back?
Let's just pick a player. So we're not being a little bit too unrealistic. If you got to pick 39, which of these names is the most intriguing to you?
I think to me it's McDonald and Smith, right?
Those
Smith.
are the 2 names. Yep.
The reason I think a trade back is interesting because you still got Steve, why am I
Avila.
blanking on his name?
Yep.
Avila still available. You still have Tommy available. So there is some appeal there to like go back. Tipman's still there. There's some appeal if you wanted to go back a little bit. But since we're not going to do that, I would say let's take Will McDonald. Mozzie Smith is a great fit and everything, but I just think that, edge players like that, they're valuable.
I think you take Will McDonald because he's just too good of a talent. This reminds me a little bit of when the Cowboys, now they didn't trade up, but when they took Randy Gregory in the second round of the 2015 draft. They didn't necessarily need him. That was a time that they already had DeMarcus Lawrence. They had Greg Hardy. They had Tyrone Crawford, but it's just too good of a player to pass up. And we should also mention, like, as great as the edge depth is for Dallas right now, it could be completely different a year from now, right? Dorrance Armstrong on the last year of his deal. Dante Fowler signed a one-year deal. DeMarcus Lawrence is getting older, and I think he'd be going into the last year of his deal next year. So it never hurts to take a pass rusher. And if you've already addressed one of your biggest needs in tight end, why not go up and get a guy that you might have graded as a top 15 player in this class?
Yeah, you can't just think you can sit on your hands with pass rushers. You need waves of these players, especially in this defense. So the more numbers, the better. I know it's easy to look at what we've got right now, like you said, and think that's enough. But planning for the future here is important. And a lot of times these draft picks are done based on who has 1-year deals left. And if you look at all the 1-year deals, people that have only 1 year left in the defensive end room, the position that you cannot afford to not have depth at, it makes a lot of sense to draft another defensive end high.
Plus, McDonald would be a perfect fit here, right? Like, I think he's one of the more toolsy edge rush prospects in this class, but he also needs some time to develop. And what better spot to develop than in Dallas, where you have a million edge rushers ahead of you? So absolutely love it. Landon, we're going to make 2 more picks here before we head out. But before we do that, let's tell you guys about FanDuel. The tournament is heating up, and there is no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet doesn't win, just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, Landon, we've got 2 more picks here before we head out. We've addressed tight end. We've got another impact defender in our front 7. What position are you looking to address now?
Well, I think we can do a lot of BPA if we wanted to, but I also think that this is a great spot to pick your running back, honestly. You've got 2 of them that are sticking out right there, and then now I see a third that is interesting. Actually, several that
I see a lot here that I like, just to be honest.
Honestly, like, here's the list, and I'll give you my feelings on them. Kendra Miller is still available. Love him. Deuce Vaughn, gotta love the small run back. Rashawn Johnson is a guy that I know that the Cowboys are interested in, and I think is a great fit for what we're looking for opposite Pollard. Zach Evans is a guy who's really, really interesting, has a lot of talent. I think Eric Gray is someone who is consistently underdrafted in this. I watch him, and I feel like he's a very complete back. He can come in and kind of do a little bit of everything for you, which makes a lot of sense. Keaton Mitchell is a guy who's
got a lot of speed.
He's explosive and can really, really run. I think Muhammad Ibrahim from Minnesota is another guy. If I'm not mistaken, he's a bigger back.
He's a big back. He's shorter, but man, if you want that bowling ball,
20 plus, right?
Yeah. But you could probably wait a little bit here. Of all these names, which one jumps out the most to you?
Kendra Miller to me. I just, he's the guy that when watching Quentin Johnson, I just couldn't take my eyes off of him. And I think I remember reaching out to y'all about it when we were watching. I just felt like he had a lot of talent, a lot of vision, understood how to stay on his feet well, very balanced player. has some elusiveness in a way that you didn't expect because he isn't necessarily a burner, you know. But I think he's got some of that Emmitt Smith aspect to him, where and he's not Emmitt Smith, but he's like a solidly built running back who can run through you into you, but also like despite not being super like agile, is really good at like the kind of subtle movements in his running to avoid absorbing a lot of contact. So I really liked him.
I like him a lot too. I will say the one name that kind of jumped out to me was Roshan Johnson. Like if you're looking for a bigger running back that can run between the tackles, can do all the short yardage stuff, so you don't wear down Tony Pollard. I think he makes a lot of sense.
And he doesn't have a ton of carries, which is nice as well. Doesn't have a lot of touches on his body, so that is.
I think both of these guys are awesome fits. But I think just in terms of best player available, how can you not take Kendra Miller from TCU? That's just too good of a value.
Yep, and I think it just smacks right perfectly with where the Cowboys are drafting right there.
And so that'll be our pick here in the bottom of the 4th round. You bring him in, you have him compete with Malik Davis for that number 2 running back role as a rookie. And then I would assume by 2024, if you don't bring back Tony Pollard, he's your every down starter. And I know PFF compared him to Miles Sanders. Honestly, that's probably not a bad comp.
Yeah, I really liked him. He was someone that I didn't set out to watch. He was someone. I mean, I was watching another player, and he popped on the screen during the Georgia game. I think it was. Several other games that I watched. So yeah, I'm a fan. I think that him paired with Pollard gives you a really, really nice balance in your running back room. So.
All right, so we're here at pick 169, the Cowboys pick of the 5th round. A lot of names available that you guys should recognize, including a certain quarterback who I know the Cowboys have interest in, Aiden O'Connell. We heard from Jerry Jones that the Cowboys are interested in drafting a quarterback this year. Clayton Tune, who's also available, who I know the Cowboys have a 30 visit set up with. There's also Stetson Bennett. Is this the right spot to draft that developmental quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely an area where you could take that guy for sure. I mean, I think the 5th round is right where you're kind of, you're through the first 4 rounds. You feel like maybe I can get a guy, and we did, right? We got a guy who can contribute right away as a 4th round pick.
We got 3 guys already that I think can come in right away and help you out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I meant more specifically, if getting it to the 4th round and then getting a contributor to me means that by the 5th round, if you wanted to take a guy that's a developmental player, I feel like you've covered yourself by getting 3 solid contributors, despite having to trade away one of your picks, right? So, yeah, I think if you're talking about Tune, you're talking about Aiden O'Quinn. Those guys are available.
Aiden O'Connell. Yep.
Aiden O'Connell. I'm sorry. Yep. I think Aiden O'Quinn's an actor, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that you're in a good spot here if you want to take a quarterback. I also wonder. Well, actually, now we don't have that other 5th round pick. So I think that this is probably the spot. There might be a couple other guys that you could look at here if they fall. I think someone else that like Chandler Zavala is a guy that I think that they like from North Carolina State. We
could look at receivers real quick, because I do think that's a spot that the Cowboys could potentially draft, even if they're looking for down the roster guys. I know Ronnie Bell had an amazing workout at Michigan's Pro Day. I mean, that's
Elijah Higgins is kind of interesting as like an H-back type. I like Puka Nacua a little bit, the BYU guy.
Do a little bit of everything. If you wanted to add a corner, there's some names here. If you want to go ahead and take
Cameron Brown's,
Nahshon Wright's brother Rajon Wright is available. We know that's
right.
We could probably pound on the table, but I think
probably don't need to take him in the 5th round, though. That's the thing, right?
No.
Yeah.
I think it's a quarterback, and I think it comes down to Aiden O'Connell or Clayton Tune. And I know that you're a Clayton Tune fan.
Yeah, I like Clayton Tune a lot. They're definitely ranking him like a whole round beneath Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Aiden O'Connell is more of a toolsy player, right? And I feel like Clayton Tune is more of a guy that is kind of closer to what you would expect of a Cooper Rush type backup quarterback, right? Where I don't know that if he's ever going to develop, he may, he may develop into a starter someday if he really kind of continues to work at it. But I do think that he has probably a high floor, is a smart kid just based on what we see on tape. And it's very accurate. I mean, his adjusted completion percentage is extremely high. So that's the kind of thing you're looking for in a backup quarterback.
I do like Aiden O'Connell a little bit. I was talking to somebody yesterday that would know about where these quarterbacks are going to be drafted. And it said, listen, I think there's a very good chance he ends up having a Nick Foles type of career in the NFL where
I've heard that too.
Where it's just like, probably more of a backup, but if he needs to be a spot starter for 7 games, he's accurate enough that you can win a lot of football games with him. So I wouldn't be surprised if Aiden O'Connell is the type of quarterback that Mike McCarthy would like to potentially develop to replace Cooper Rush.
Let's take Aiden O'Connell, and let's also take this opportunity real quick to talk about some of these other quarterbacks because we haven't chatted about these guys. I also really, really like Dorian Thompson-Robinson from UCLA as a late round developmental guy. He's got a lot of great tools. I think he actually has a lot of great passing tools already, but he's also got a level of physicality that can be really good, useful, and I think could be used in a lot of different ways, similar to the way Dak uses it. So another guy to maybe keep your eye on. I don't know if the Cowboys are interested in, but definitely a guy I like.
If they want more of an athlete that can do some stuff, run the ball, if for whatever reason Dak doesn't play, I think DTR makes a lot of sense. Here's our final haul. We just did the first 5 rounds. We take Dalton Kincaid in round 1 to give us the receiving option at tight end. Traded up our 2nd and 3rd round pick to get Will McDonald, who I won't be surprised if they have a monster grade on him. Yeah. And then on day 3, Kendra Miller, running back, can come in and contribute, and Aiden O'Connell, your quarterback.
I'll just comment on Will McDonald real quick because we haven't really talked a ton about him, but he had just a very solid senior year, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he had I might be mistaken about this, but I kind of feel like he had a better junior year.
He did.
Then and then a dip of the senior year. But you go to the Senior Bowl practices, he was outstanding there. His testing is outstanding. I think he ended up with a 6.7 3 cone, if I'm not mistaken, or something really, really, really good. And so it's just one of those things where he's hit all the markers really well throughout this kind of process. There's been a lot of talk about how thin he is, and that is a thing, right? He is a smaller defensive end. He's very svelte, I would say, especially in the midsection. He's got like a small waist, but he can run underneath the table at full speed. He can, he could do all the bendy stuff you need. He's explosive. He's got long arms. There's a reason why he has started to rise a little bit as teams have gotten a little bit of a deeper dive on him.
I love this haul. Although you made me draft 2 guys that are going to be 24 during the rookie season. It's just an old class. It's going to happen. True. But I love this. I think this is a very realistic haul as well. Like, I could very well see the Cowboys drafting a tight end at 26 and then moving up to the early 40s and getting a guy that maybe they consider drafting at 26. And because this roster is so good, Landon, I don't think they have spots for 8 guys on the roster, right?
And that's the thing. Like, the numbers, at a certain point, it's a numbers game. So there is, like, especially when you have a talented roster, there is value, I think, in potentially trading up to get a higher quality of player simply because they have a much better chance of making and staying on your roster. It's a tough roster to make at this point.
I just don't know if this is the year that they can add 8 rookies plus 3 undrafted rookie free agents. Like, their roster's too deep already. You might be better off just to get 3 quality players at 3 positions that you want to add to and say, you know what, we're good. Let's move on. So that's the first of hopefully several mock draft simulations that you and I plan on doing over the next couple of weeks. We want to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every day. And make your second listen Locked On NFL Scouting Show with the Draft Dudes. From free agency to the draft, salary cap management, and more. Join NFL experts Kyle Krabs and Joe Moreno as they take you through what it's like to build a successful NFL franchise every Monday through Friday. Find Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We want to thank you for listening to this show. Go check out our show on YouTube. If you only listen to the audio version of this podcast, go check it out on YouTube because
Yeah,
you'll get to
please.
see all the players available. Go follow Landon at McCool BCB. I'm at Marcus _Mosher, and we'll see you guys next time.